What if I told you that someone could slowly erase your reality? Not by force, but by words. What if every truth you held close was quietly replaced, piece by piece, until you no longer trusted your own mind? That's what gaslighting does. It doesn't just break you, it reprograms you. And the worst part, when it's over, the war doesn't stop, because the real battle begins inside your own head. This is the aftermath, the healing from gaslighting's invisible scars. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling crazy, like somehow your version of events stopped making sense? Maybe you started apologizing for things you didn't do. Maybe you began questioning your own memory. Not because you forgot, but because they insisted you were wrong. That's the silent fingerprint of gaslighting. It's manipulation in its most elegant form. A slow poisoning of your perception until you doubt your very senses. Imagine this. You confront your partner about a hurtful comment they made last night. They smile faintly and say, "I never said that." You must be imagining things. You pause. You're sure you heard it. But now, you're unsure. And that tiny flicker of doubt, that's where it starts. If you've ever felt that confusion, that inner chaos, drop an emoji in the comments. Because you're not alone, and this story is about you. Gaslighters are not always villains in dark rooms. They're often charming, persuasive. They wear empathy like a disguise. They'll deny your pain with a smile. They'll rewrite memories mid-conversation. They'll tell you you're too sensitive until you stop trusting your emotions altogether. That's the strategy, not to control you externally, but to colonize your mind. One of the cruelest tactics, reversal. When you finally stand up and say, "That's not what happened," they turn it on you. Wow, look at you getting angry again. You're the problem here. Soon, you're defending yourself against accusations that make no sense. And while you're busy defending, they're rewriting the script. I once heard a story about a woman named Mira. For years, her partner convinced her she was forgetful, that she kept losing things, misremembering details, even fabricating stories. He'd move small objects in the house, her keys, her journal, then watch her panic when they disappeared. Each time, he'd shake his head gently and say, "You really should get that checked out. Maybe it's stress." Months later, she found her missing things in his drawer. Everything she thought she'd lost was right there. It wasn't about the objects. It was about control. If this sounds familiar, hit like, because the more we expose these tactics, the less power they have in the dark. Here's the part people don't talk about. The gaslighter doesn't have to be around anymore for their voice to echo in your head. Long after they're gone, you still second-guess yourself. You reread messages to check if you're overreacting. You apologize automatically, even when you've done nothing wrong. Because their conditioning became your inner dialogue. That's the real scar. It's invisible, but it bleeds into everything. The human brain is wired to seek coherence, to make sense of what we experience. But gaslighting destroys that coherence. It teaches you to mistrust your instincts, to outsource your reality. You start hearing two voices, yours and theirs. And theirs always sounds more convincing. You wake up in the middle of the night wondering, was I really that difficult? Was it really my fault? That's how deep the programming runs. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance. When your heart knows something's wrong, but your mind has been trained to believe otherwise. It's a mental tug-of-war between what you feel and what you've been told to believe. And slowly the foundation crumbles. If you've ever found yourself replaying arguments, trying to find the exact moment where you went wrong. You didn't. You were conditioned to think you did. Comment truth if you've ever been in that loop, because breaking it begins with awareness. But here's where everything shifts. The moment you stop defending your story to the manipulator and start defending it to yourself, you begin to take your mind back. Gaslighting collapses when you start documenting truth. Write down what happens. Record the patterns. Keep a journal of reality, not to prove it to them, but to remind yourself that you're not crazy. That's where the healing begins, in evidence of truth. Because facts are antidotes to manipulation. There's a moment every survivor of gaslighting remembers. The click of realization. It's when you read back through your own notes, or recall something they swore never happened, and suddenly it all lines up. That's the instant the fog lifts. And it's powerful, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. If you've ever reached that moment, where clarity hit like lightning, drop "I see it now" in the comments. That's your first step out of the maze. From here, it's not about proving your past. It's about rebuilding your present. When your reality's been tampered with, the first instinct is to seek validation. To find someone who says, yes, that happened. And that's okay. Because healing starts when truth is witnessed. Begin by grounding yourself in objectivity. If your memory feels unreliable, create anchors. Notes, screenshots, photos, messages, your personal truth archive. Not as evidence for anyone else, but as proof for your own mind. Next, rebuild trust in your perception. Practice noticing what you feel without judging it. When something hurts, don't ask, "Am I overreacting?" Ask, "What is this emotion trying to tell me?" Your emotions are not the enemy. They were silenced because they were powerful. Now it's time to listen again. Support is also crucial. Gaslighting isolates you, healing reconnects you. Talk to people who validate your experiences, not those who dismiss them. Sometimes that's a friend. Sometimes it's a therapist. Sometimes it's a stranger online who says, "I believe you." If you're rebuilding, if you're reclaiming, type "reclaiming" in the comments right now. It's not just a word, it's your declaration. Here's what nobody tells you. Healing from gaslighting isn't about becoming your old self again. That version of you trusted blindly, and they got hurt. Healing means becoming a wiser version of yourself. One who sees red flags sooner, who doesn't apologize for existing, and who knows that boundaries aren't selfish, they are sacred. Start small. When you catch yourself apologizing unnecessarily, stop. Replace "I'm sorry" with "Thank you for understanding." It retrains your brain to associate worth with presence, not guilt. Another key is self-compassion. Because the hardest person to forgive is often yourself. You'll ask, "How did I let this happen?" But remember, manipulation isn't about weakness. It's about empathy being weaponized. You were targeted because of your kindness, your openness, your loyalty. Don't punish those traits. Refine them. Try this tonight. Write a letter to yourself from the version of you that survived. Let them say, "I'm proud of you. You believed lies, but you never stopped searching for truth." That's how you begin emotional repair. Not with anger, but with understanding. If these words are hitting deep, pause this video for a second. Take a breath. Whisper to yourself, "I'm not broken. I'm healing." Then come back. Because the final part is where you rise. Once you've faced the storm, you realize something profound. You're not fragile. You're forged. The next stage isn't about avoiding manipulators. It's about being so grounded in truth that their tactics can't touch you anymore. Start by learning assertive communication. Simple phrases like, "I remember it differently," or "That's your opinion, not my truth." These phrases are verbal armor, polite but powerful. Next, trust your intuition. That gut feeling you once doubted. It's your built-in alarm system. And it's always been right. Rebuild your environment too. Fill your space with reminders of your independence. Photos, notes, affirmations. Every object becomes a marker of truth. Your truth. One survivor once told me, "The scariest part wasn't realizing I'd been manipulated. It was realizing how strong I had to be to heal from it." That's the essence of post-traumatic growth. You don't just recover. You evolve. If you've made it this far, hit that like button, not for me, but for you. Because you stayed through the dark. And that deserves recognition. Gaslighting leaves invisible scars. But scars aren't signs of weakness. They're proof that healing happened. Maybe you're still in that fog. Maybe you've just escaped. Or maybe you're years past it, still feeling echoes in the back of your mind. Wherever you are, you're on the right path. Because awareness is the end of manipulation. You see, manipulators thrive in confusion. They feed off your self-doubt. But when you start naming what's happening, you steal their power. And with each truth you reclaim, your identity, your memories, your voice, you become the one thing they feared most. Unshakable. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who's still searching for theirs. Because awareness spreads faster when it's spoken out loud. Comment below what part hit hardest. I read every one of them. And if you're ready to reclaim your mind and rebuild your strength, subscribe. Because on this channel, we expose manipulation. And we take back power. Remember this. The moment you see through the illusion, you've already escaped